Your soulmate wrote a secret love letter you must read before tomorrow. My beloved child, before this night slips away, listen carefully because what you are about to hear is not a coincidence. If these words have reached you today, do not rush past them. There is a reason your heart paused. There is a reason your spirit feels as though someone has quietly whispered your name in a room where no one else could hear it. Heaven often speaks through symbols, memories, and gentle invitations rather than certainties about the future, and tonight you are being invited to reflect on a message hidden inside your own heart. Imagine standing in a silent hallway where every door has a story. At the very end of that hallway rests an old wooden table. Upon it lies a single envelope with no address, no stamp, only your name written in elegant handwriting that somehow feels strangely familiar. You have never seen those letters before, yet something inside you recognizes them. You hesitate to touch it because deep within your soul you already know this is no ordinary letter. It represents every hope you buried, every prayer you whispered when no one was listening, every tear that fell without anyone noticing. Stay with this story because the meaning behind that envelope is more important than the paper itself. The greatest revelation has not arrived yet. As you slowly lift the envelope, you notice that the room around you becomes unusually still. Even the sound of your own breathing seems distant. It feels as though heaven itself is waiting for you to decide whether you will open what has been hidden inside your own heart. Archangel Michael stands as a symbol of courage beside the doorway, reminding you that love protected by truth never needs fear to survive. A soft light shines through an old window, not blinding, not dramatic, but peaceful enough to remind you that even the darkest nights cannot imprison the morning forever. Before your fingers break the seal, another thought enters your mind. What if the letter does not come from another person at all? What if it reveals something about the kind of love your own soul has been preparing to receive? Do not leave yet because this question changes everything. The greatest mysteries are rarely solved in the first moment. They unfold one heartbeat at a time. You finally unfold the letter. The paper is simple, almost ordinary, but the words seem alive. The first sentence says, "If you are reading this, it means hope has survived longer than fear." Those words strike your heart because perhaps that has always been your hidden battle. Maybe disappointment convinced you that genuine love had forgotten your address. Maybe you smiled during the day while quietly wondering at night whether anyone would ever understand the language of your heart. Yet this symbolic letter continues, you were never unseen. Every act of kindness, every silent sacrifice, every moment you chose forgiveness instead of bitterness became ink upon these pages. You stop reading for a moment because something within you begins to awaken. Could it be that heaven has never ignored your journey? Could it be that what felt like endless waiting was quietly shaping you instead of punishing you? The silence surrounding you suddenly feels different. It no longer feels empty. It feels expectant. Like the pause before sunrise. Continue listening because another page waits beneath the first, and its message reaches even deeper. The second page begins with a memory. You see yourself standing beside a rainy window during one of the hardest seasons of your life. No one knew how close you were to giving up on your dreams. No one knew how many questions you carried into the night. Yet the letter gently reminds you that every tear became part of a greater story. Not because suffering itself was good, but because hope refused to abandon you. You begin remembering little moments you once dismissed. The stranger who unexpectedly encouraged you. The friend who called at exactly the right time. The peaceful feeling that arrived after desperate prayers. Perhaps those moments were never accidents. Perhaps they were gentle reminders that heaven had not forgotten your name. The room grows brighter. Outside the window, clouds slowly separate, allowing a single beam of light to rest upon the envelope. The scene feels almost impossible to explain, yet completely natural to your soul. Sometimes the greatest miracles are not loud events but quiet awakenings that change the direction of a person's heart forever. Do not stop here because another truth is waiting beyond the next fold of the letter. You carefully unfold the final page. Instead of promises about exact people or guaranteed outcomes, you discover something even more meaningful. It reads, "The love prepared for you cannot be rushed by fear or delayed by faithfulness. Continue becoming the person you were created to be." At first you feel surprised. You expected dramatic answers. Instead, you received peaceful wisdom. Then you realize why. True love is not strengthened by anxiety. It grows through patience, honesty, healing, and courage. The symbolic soulmate described in this letter is not presented as someone whose future actions are already written beyond choice. Rather, they represent the possibility of a relationship built upon mutual respect, compassion, and truth. Heaven does not ask you to chase certainty where none has been given. Instead, it invites you to become someone who can recognize genuine love when it appears. As these words settle into your spirit, you hear a gentle heartbeat echo through the quiet room. It is your own. For the first time in a long while, it no longer beats with panic but with peace. The hallway behind you begins to fade. The envelope slowly disappears into light, leaving only one sentence shining before your eyes: "Carry this message into tomorrow." You suddenly understand why the title of this mysterious letter mattered so deeply. It was never about predicting another person's secret actions as fact. It was about reminding you not to enter tomorrow carrying yesterday's fear. The greatest love letter your soul could receive was permission to believe again. Yet the story has one final moment. Before the light completely fades, you notice a small mirror standing beside the window. Oh, you walk toward it, expecting to see only your reflection. Instead, you see something different. You see the version of yourself who never stopped hoping despite disappointment. The version who kept loving despite heartbreak. The version who kept praying even when answers seemed delayed. Tears quietly fill your eyes because you finally recognize the person heaven has been patiently restoring all along. Not someone else. You. The mirror slowly returns to normal, but the peace remains. Outside, dawn begins touching the horizon. Birds awaken. The silence transforms into expectation. You realize tomorrow does not need to be feared because you no longer walk into it empty-handed. You carry wisdom instead of worry, faith instead of panic, and courage instead of despair. Whatever conversations tomorrow brings, whatever opportunities appear, whatever relationships continue or change, you know you are not walking alone. The symbolic presence of heaven remains beside every faithful step. Archangel Michael's image at the doorway reminds you that strength often looks like quiet perseverance rather than loud victories. As you prepare to leave the mysterious room, you glance back one last time. The table is empty now. The envelope is gone. Yet somehow the letter has not disappeared. It has become part of your own heart. And that is the greatest mystery of all. The message you believed you needed to read before tomorrow was never meant to remain on paper. It was meant to become the way you face tomorrow itself, trusting that even when every answer has not yet arrived, you are still deeply seen, deeply loved, never abandoned, and always invited to walk forward with hope. Your footsteps echo softly as you leave the quiet room, yet something tells you the story is not over. In fact, it has only reached the place where the deepest questions begin. My beloved child, if your heart is still listening, do not turn away now. The message you carried from that mysterious letter was never meant to answer everything in a single night. Heaven often reveals truth the way dawn fills the sky, not all at once, but gradually, until darkness realizes it has already lost. As you continue walking down the long hallway, another door appears where moments ago there had only been a blank wall. It is smaller than the others, painted in soft white, with a tiny silver key already resting in the lock. No voice commands you to enter. No angel forces your hand. Instead, you are gently invited to choose. That is how love has always worked. It never drags the heart. It waits patiently for the heart to respond. You reach for the handle, and before your fingers touch it, you hear what sounds like distant pages turning, as though someone is reading another letter somewhere beyond the door. The sound is peaceful, familiar, almost comforting. It reminds you of evenings when you once dreamed about a future you could not yet see. It reminds you that even forgotten dreams sometimes continue breathing long after we believe they have disappeared. Stay with this journey because the next room reveals something that changes the meaning of everything you have already experienced. The door opens without resistance. Inside is an old library unlike any place you have ever imagined. Thousands of shelves stretch farther than your eyes can follow. Every book is different. Some shine softly. Others appear worn from years of careful reading. Yet none of them carry titles on their covers. At the very center of the room stands a single chair beside a wooden desk. Upon the desk rests another folded paper. This one is not sealed. There is only one sentence written across the front: every faithful heart writes chapters before it realizes it is creating a story. You slowly unfold the paper. It is not another love letter. It is a reflection. Each paragraph reminds you of moments when you chose kindness although bitterness seemed easier. It reminds you of the apologies you accepted, the forgiveness you offered, the prayers you whispered without demanding immediate answers. As you continue reading, you realize something extraordinary. Every act of hope became another page in the unseen story heaven has been shaping within you. Nothing was wasted. Not even the nights you thought were empty. A gentle breeze flows through the library although no windows are open. The pages of nearby books begin turning on their own. You notice faint golden light moving from shelf to shelf like sunlight dancing across water. The atmosphere feels alive, yet peaceful. Then your eyes fall upon one particular book resting alone on the highest shelf. Unlike the others, this one carries a title. It simply says, Tomorrow. You wonder why only that book has a name. Before you can reach it, a calm voice speaks, not loudly, but with the quiet confidence of truth. Many people spend their lives fearing tomorrow because they believe tomorrow belongs to uncertainty. Yet tomorrow has always belonged to the one who walks beside them. Those words settle deeply within your heart. They do not remove every question. Instead, they remove the fear of not having every answer. Suddenly you understand why peace feels stronger than certainty. Certainty depends upon knowing every detail. Peace depends upon trusting even when some pages remain unread. Continue listening because another discovery is waiting among the shelves. As you walk deeper into the library, you notice that every book seems connected by delicate threads of light. Some threads are bright. Others are barely visible. None appear broken. You begin realizing that every meaningful encounter, every lesson, every disappointment, and every unexpected blessing has quietly connected to the next chapter of your life. What once appeared random now resembles a masterpiece still being painted. You pause beside an empty chair facing an old window. Outside, the night sky has begun changing into soft shades of blue. Stars slowly disappear, not because they have ceased to exist, but because a greater light is arriving. The symbolism touches your spirit. Sometimes answers do not vanish because they were false. They simply become unnecessary once hope returns. Your attention is drawn toward a small feather resting on the windowsill. It is perfectly white. You gently pick it up. It weighs almost nothing, yet somehow it carries enormous meaning. You remember the image of Archangel Michael standing protectively near the first doorway. Again, this is not proof of visible events but a reminder that courage and protection often arrive quietly, strengthening hearts one decision at a time. You slip the feather into your pocket, not as a magical object, but as a symbol that faith travels with you even after extraordinary moments end. As you turn back toward the center of the library, the book titled Tomorrow has somehow moved onto the desk. No footsteps. No sound. It is simply there. You open the first page expecting detailed predictions, specific names, or dramatic revelations. Instead, every page is blank except one sentence repeated at the bottom: write this day with love, and tomorrow will have room for hope. At first, you feel confused. Then you smile. The message becomes beautifully clear. Heaven has not hidden your future from you as punishment. It has left room for faith to become part of the journey. If every chapter were already visible, trust would never have the chance to grow. You close the book gently. Outside the window, sunlight now reaches the horizon. The first rays enter the library, touching every shelf until the entire room glows with warm golden light. Every unnamed book begins shining for a brief moment before returning to stillness. You sense that these books represent countless lives, each carrying its own story of healing, waiting, courage, and redemption. Yours is simply one among them, precious and deeply known. Before leaving, you notice one final object resting beside the chair, a simple bookmark made of blue ribbon. Written upon it are the words, "Return whenever your heart forgets what hope feels like." You place it inside the book called Tomorrow, knowing that even though you may never physically see this library again, its message will remain with you. As you walk back toward the doorway, you glance once more at the endless shelves. They no longer seem mysterious. They feel welcoming, like reminders that every season has meaning even before we fully understand it. You step outside, and the hallway has disappeared completely. Instead, you find yourself standing beneath an open morning sky. Fresh air fills your lungs. Birds sing from distant trees. The world looks ordinary, yet your heart is no longer the same. You realize the greatest secret love letter was never asking you to search desperately for hidden signs in other people. It was inviting you to rediscover the quiet confidence that genuine love, wisdom, and hope are worth preparing for. And as you take your very first step into the new day, you cannot shake the feeling that somewhere just beyond the next bend in the road, another unexpected page of this extraordinary journey is quietly waiting to be turned. The morning air feels different now, not because the world itself has changed overnight, but because something inside you has become quieter than it has been in a long time. My beloved child, if your heart is still searching, remain here a little longer. There is one more path you have not yet noticed. It does not appear on any map, and no sign points toward it. Yet every soul that learns to hope eventually discovers it. As you continue walking beneath the pale golden light of dawn, you notice an old stone pathway leading away from the familiar road. Wildflowers grow along its edges, untouched by hurried footsteps. The breeze carries the scent of rain even though the sky is clear. Every instinct tells you this path was waiting long before you arrived. You follow it slowly, each step filled with quiet expectation rather than anxious curiosity. Ahead stands a small church unlike the grand buildings people often imagine. Its wooden doors are simple. Its windows are plain. Yet the peace surrounding it feels deeper than words can explain. No crowd waits outside. No bells ring. The silence itself seems welcoming. You gently push open the door, and the warm light inside embraces the room without a single candle being visible. Rows of empty benches stretch toward the front where a single cross stands against the wall. Everything feels still, yet wonderfully alive. You wonder why this place feels strangely familiar, as though your heart has visited before even if your eyes never have. Before you can speak, you notice something resting on the first bench. It is another folded piece of paper, smaller than the letters you found before. Across the front are the words, "Read only when your heart is ready to forgive." You hesitate. Forgiveness has always sounded beautiful until it became personal. Memories quietly begin returning. Faces you have not thought about in years. Conversations that ended too soon. Promises that were broken. Moments when you questioned whether love could truly survive disappointment. You slowly unfold the page. It does not mention any names. Instead, it says, "The chains that weigh the soul are often carried long after the prison door has already opened." You close your eyes for a moment. Those words settle deeply within you because perhaps the hardest person to forgive has never been someone else. Perhaps it has been yourself. The church remains silent, giving you room to breathe. No one rushes you. No voice demands instant healing. Heaven often restores the heart gently, allowing truth to become stronger than shame, one quiet moment at a time. Do not leave this place yet, because another understanding is about to unfold. As you continue reading, the message explains that every person carries invisible pages no one else can read. Some pages are filled with joy. Others hold regret, grief, unanswered questions, or silent victories. Yet the remarkable thing is that none of those pages determine the ending of the story. They simply become part of the journey that shapes wisdom. You look toward the cross at the front of the church and notice sunlight streaming through the windows, forming a bright path across the wooden floor. It is not dazzling. It is gentle enough to invite rather than overwhelm. You begin walking toward that light. With every step, another burden seems lighter than before. Not because every circumstance has changed, but because your heart no longer insists on carrying yesterday into tomorrow. When you reach the front of the church, you notice an old journal resting beneath the cross. Unlike the mysterious books in the library, this journal is completely blank. A fountain pen rests beside it. You instinctively understand that no one expects you to write the perfect story. The invitation is simply to begin the next chapter with honesty. You pick up the pen. At first, no words come. Then, almost without thinking, you write a single sentence: "Today I choose hope again." As the ink dries, something remarkable happens. The blank pages behind that sentence begin filling with soft golden light, not written words. It is as though the journal itself is reminding you that faith often grows in spaces where certainty has not yet arrived. You smile quietly. For the first time in a long while, tomorrow feels less like a question and more like an opportunity. A gentle breeze moves through the church, turning the first page of the journal. Another sentence appears, not by magic, but as a poetic reflection within your imagination. Every heart that refuses to surrender to despair becomes a light for someone else. Those words remain with you as you close the journal carefully. Before leaving, you notice a small stained glass window depicting a sunrise over calm water. Colors of gold, blue, and crimson spread across the floor like a living painting. You stand there for several moments, realizing that light becomes most beautiful when it passes through something that has been broken and carefully restored. Perhaps that has been your own journey all along. Outside the church, the world has fully awakened. Children laugh in the distance. Birds cross the brightening sky. Dew sparkles on the grass like countless tiny mirrors reflecting the morning sun. Everything appears ordinary, yet every ordinary detail suddenly feels extraordinary because you are seeing it through renewed eyes. As you begin walking again, the stone pathway leads toward a quiet hill overlooking a peaceful valley. From there you can see winding roads disappearing beyond the horizon. None of them reveal where they end. Yet none of them frighten you anymore. You remember the symbolic love letter, the library filled with unnamed books, the church wrapped in silence, and the journal waiting for a single sentence of hope. Every place carried the same message in a different form. Genuine love begins with a heart willing to remain open even after disappointment. As you stand upon the hill, a flock of white birds rises into the sky together. They circle once before disappearing into the morning light. Their flight reminds you that freedom is rarely the absence of uncertainty. Freedom is learning that fear no longer decides your direction. You take a deep breath. Somewhere in the distance, a gentle breeze whispers through the trees. It almost sounds like familiar words carried upon the wind. Keep walking. You do not know every chapter waiting ahead. You do not know every conversation tomorrow will bring. Yet you no longer feel the need to force every answer before its time. The greatest gift heaven has placed within your hands is not a perfect map but a faithful heart capable of recognizing peace when it appears. And as you quietly descend the hill toward whatever tomorrow holds, you cannot help but sense that this journey has one final destination still waiting, a place where every symbolic letter, every quiet prayer, every healed memory, and every hopeful step will come together in a way your heart has not yet imagined. As you continue down the gentle hillside, the morning sun rises higher, wrapping the valley in a warm golden glow that seems to erase every shadow left behind by the night. My beloved child, this is the final part of the journey, but do not mistake an ending for a farewell. Some endings are simply the first peaceful breath before an entirely new beginning. The road before you curves toward a quiet river whose surface reflects the sky so perfectly that it becomes impossible to tell where heaven ends and the earth begins. You stop at the edge of the water, and for a moment the world becomes completely silent. No rushing thoughts. No fear of tomorrow. Only the sound of your heartbeat, steady and calm, reminding you that life is still moving forward one faithful step at a time. Across the river stands a single willow tree whose branches sway gently in the breeze. Hanging from one branch is a small lantern, still glowing even though daylight has already arrived. Curious, you cross the narrow wooden bridge leading toward it. Every plank beneath your feet seems to echo one lesson you have learned during this journey. Hope. Patience. Courage. Mercy. Faith. Forgiveness. Love. When you reach the other side, you discover that the lantern is not lighting the path for someone else. It is lighting the place where you are standing now. Suddenly you understand. Heaven was never asking you to chase distant signs while ignoring the light already surrounding your own life. The greatest miracle has always begun inside a heart willing to trust even when every answer has not yet appeared. Beneath the lantern rests one final envelope. Unlike the others, it bears no handwriting. It is completely blank. You smile quietly because you already know what that means. You open it gently. Inside is a single white page with only one sentence written across the center. The greatest love letter was never hidden from you, it was written every time you chose hope instead of fear. Those words settle into your soul more deeply than anything you have read before. Every symbolic letter, every mysterious room, every silent hallway, every sunrise, every peaceful reminder has been leading to this simple truth. Love is not merely something waiting at the end of the road. Love is also the strength heaven quietly builds within you while you are walking the road itself. Tears begin filling your eyes, not from sadness but from relief. So many nights you believed you were forgotten. So many mornings you wondered whether your prayers had disappeared into silence. Yet looking back, you now recognize that even during seasons when nothing seemed to change, something sacred was growing beneath the surface. Like roots stretching unseen beneath the soil before the first flower blooms, your faith was quietly becoming stronger than your doubts. You sit beneath the willow tree and close your eyes for a moment. Memories begin passing before you like gentle waves. Faces of people who encouraged you. Moments when you almost gave up but somehow kept moving. Small acts of kindness that seemed ordinary at the time but now shine with unexpected meaning. You realize heaven often speaks through simple moments rather than spectacular events. A comforting conversation. A peaceful sunrise. A quiet prayer answered with unexpected strength instead of immediate solutions. These are the hidden languages of grace. As the breeze moves through the willow branches, the lantern slowly grows dim until its light blends naturally with the brightness of the day. It has completed its purpose. The light outside no longer needs to guide you because a steadier light has awakened within you. You rise to your feet and continue walking beside the river until you reach a wide meadow filled with wildflowers dancing beneath the wind. At the center of the field stands an empty bench facing the horizon. You sit there quietly, watching the endless sky. There is nothing dramatic left to reveal. No mysterious voices. No hidden doors. No secret messages waiting beneath another envelope. Surprisingly, that realization does not disappoint you. Instead, it fills you with peace. Sometimes the greatest revelation is discovering that you no longer need constant signs to believe that you are loved. Your heart has become steady enough to carry hope into ordinary days. You remember the symbolic title that began this entire journey. Your soulmate wrote a secret love letter you must read before tomorrow. Now you finally understand its deepest meaning. The letter was never intended to promise a specific person or predict future events as certain facts. It was an invitation to rediscover the kind of heart that can both give and receive genuine love with honesty, patience, humility, and faith. Whoever may one day walk beside you, whenever that chapter unfolds, the most important preparation has already begun within you. Love built upon truth is stronger than fear. Love shaped by grace is stronger than disappointment. Love guided by wisdom is stronger than uncertainty. As the sun reaches its highest point, you notice the river flowing peacefully without struggling against its own direction. It simply follows the path prepared before it. You smile again because perhaps your own journey can become like that, not forced, not hurried, not controlled by anxiety, but guided day by day with quiet trust. You take one final look at the valley, the bridge, the willow tree, and the peaceful river. None of them disappear. They remain as gentle reminders that every season has carried purpose, even when you could not yet understand it. Then you begin walking home. Not to the same person you were when this story began, but to someone whose heart has learned that hope is never wasted, kindness is never forgotten, faithful prayers are never meaningless, and quiet courage is never invisible. Whatever tomorrow brings, you no longer enter it searching desperately for proof that heaven sees you. You enter it already believing that you are seen, deeply valued, gently guided, and never alone. And as the warm afternoon light follows your footsteps, the final page of this symbolic journey closes with peace rather than fear, with gratitude rather than regret, and with a quiet confidence that the most beautiful chapters of your life will never be written by panic, but by patient faith, enduring love, and the courage to keep moving forward one hopeful step at a time. The story ends here, but the hope it awakened is yours to carry into every tomorrow that follows.